The internet was supposed to be a great equalizer, bringing knowledge, services, and opportunities to everyone. But here's the truth. Millions of people are still locked out of digital spaces. And not because they don't have the skills or the technology, but because we, designers, developers, and decision makers, haven't built it for them. Today, I want to challenge the way you think about accessibility and show you why ignoring it is not just unethical, it's bad business. Hi, I'm Sarah, a UX researcher and accessibility expert with a passion for creating inclusive digital experiences. I've been advocating the intersection of user experience and accessibility in order to build products that work for everyone, not just some. So let's get started. Some of the most groundbreaking innovations we use every day, such as elevators, electric toothbrushes, or FaceTime, were first designed for people with disabilities. When we remove barriers for some, we create better experiences for all. That's not just accessibility only, that's innovation. Imagine this. You go to book a flight, apply for a job, or even just order food online, but the site won't let you. Not because you did anything wrong, but because the buttons are too small to click, the text is unreadable, or the checkout form is impossible to navigate with a screen reader. For 1.3 billion people globally, this isn't hypothetical. This is daily life. And the frustrating part, these barriers aren't complex engineering problems. They're design flaws, fixable ones, but only if we care enough to fix them. So what are these common barriers exactly? They're often simple things, but with a massive impact. Poor color contrast makes important content invisible. Missing alternative text turns images into empty spaces for screen reader users. Captchas become dead ends for people who can't use a mouse or see the images. And confusing forms, they stop people from signing up, checking out, or even asking for help. When we talk about web accessibility, many assume it only helps a small group of users. But in reality, millions of people benefit, and the number is growing. First, blind and visually impaired users rely on screen readers, high color contrast settings, and keyboard navigation to browse the web. Without accessibility, they are locked out of the digital experiences. Then there's the deaf and hard of hearing community. Captions, transcripts, and visual alerts make content accessible, not just for them, but for anyone watching a video on mute. People with motor impairments, whether due to conditions like Parkinson or temporary injuries, need keyboard shortcuts, voice commands, and adaptive technologies to navigate a website. Those with cognitive impairments such as ADHD, dyslexia, benefit from clear layouts, readable fonts, and intuitive navigation. And finally, let's talk about the aging users. Right now, 1 in 11 people is over 65, but by 2050, that will be 1 in 6. As vision, hearing, and mobility changes with age, accessible design ensures that everyone can stay connected, informed, and independent. Features that really improve the usability for all users. And here's what's really powerful. When we design for people with disability, we often end up improving the experience for everyone. That's what's known as the curb cut effect. Curb cuts were originally created for wheelchair users, but today we all use them. Parents with strollers, travelers with luggage, delivery workers. What started as an accessibility feature becomes mainstream infrastructure. The same happens in digital design. Captions help deaf users, but also people in loud offices or on the train. Voice commands were built for users with motor impairments, but now power virtual assistants like Siri or Alexa. Simple and clear layout help users with cognitive disabilities and reduce bounce rates across the board. Accessible design is just good design. It removes friction from the few and convenience for the many. It's not just an inclusive strategy, it's an innovation strategy, really. And if the curb cut effect shows us that accessibility benefits everyone, the number shows us that it also benefits the bottom line. Globally, disabled users have a combined spending power of $18 trillion. That's not a niche market. It's a massive, often overlooked audience. But here's when it gets even more compelling. 83% of users with access needs will only shop on websites they know are accessible. 86% say they're willing to pay more for products on accessible websites. Meanwhile, 2/3 of e-commerce websites are still not accessible, which means most businesses are leaving money and loyalty on the table. So when we ignore accessibility, we're not just excluding people, we're actively turning away customers who want to engage, spend, and stay loyal. Now, beyond the business case, let's talk about the legal reality. In the United States, the Americans with Accessibility Act is a foundational civil right law that prohibits discrimination based on disability. Courts have repeatedly ruled that websites or apps are considered public spaces, which means they must be accessible, just like physical stores or offices. Then there's Section 508, which specifically applies to federal agencies and anyone doing business with them. If you're working with the US government, digital accessibility isn't optional. It's a compliance requirement. In the European Union, we have the Web Accessibility Directive, which came into force in 2016. It requires all public sector websites and mobile apps, from local municipalities to national health portals, to be accessible to all users. But starting in 2025, this year, the game changes. The European Accessibility Act expands the requirements to include private businesses, including e-commerce, banking, telecommunication, and streaming platforms. So whether you're operating in the US, the EU, or globally, the message is clear. If your digital products aren't accessible yet, you're not just risking a poor user experience, you're risking legal actions. So what can we actually do to build more accessible products? It starts with raising awareness. Accessibility needs to be part of the conversation across all teams, from design and development to product and leadership. If people aren't aware of the barriers that exist, they can't begin to solve them. That's where an inclusive and diverse work environment plays a crucial role. When we include people with disabilities in our teams or collaborate with them during research and testing, we bring real-world experiences into process and make better decisions. Next, we need to understand how people with disabilities use the internet. That means seeing the web through different lenses, navigating the screen reader, relying on captions, using voice command, and alternative input devices. These perspectives shift how we approach design and development. From there, it's about prioritizing accessibility from day one. It shouldn't be a feature we bolt in at the end. It should be part of our planning, our roadmaps, and our product goals. To support that, we need clear processes and procedures. Accessibility should be built into workflows like design systems, checklists, code reviews, and QA testing. And most importantly, accessibility needs to be understood as a task of every single individual. It's not just the responsibility of an accessibility specialist. It's part of the job for everyone who touches the product. The more we embed accessibility into our culture, our teams, and processes, the more inclusive and impactful our work will become. To wrap things up, let's come back to the key takeaways from this video. First, don't wait until a lawsuit forces you to care about accessibility. By then, the damage is already done. Lost customers, legal costs, and reputational harm. Proactive accessibility is far cheaper, far smarter. Second, integrate accessibility from the very beginning. Whether you're wireframing, coding, testing, writing content, accessibility should be part of every stage. It's not just a layer that you add at the end. And finally, accessibility isn't just about compliance. It's about good design, good businesses, and just doing the right thing. It leads to better products, happier users, and stronger companies. The tools, the knowledge, the framework, they all exist. What we need is a shift in the mindset. And that starts with you, advocating, educating, and embedding accessibility into the work you do every day. Thank you so much for being here and caring about building a web that works for everyone.